Hello chess enthusiasts, my name is Miha and welcome to my chessrealm YouTube channel. So today is 7 January, birthday of Paul Petrovich Keres, one of the best players in the world in the 40s and 50s of the previous century. He would have been 106 years old today. Unfortunately, he is not among us anymore, though his legacy still lives on. Let's take a look at an interesting game between him and Vladas Mikenas, Lithuanian grandmaster from the year 1946. Let's see what happened. Paul Keres had white pieces and he started with d4 and black responds with knight to c6, and we have the so-called Mikenas defense named after his opponent. Nowadays white usually play d5, attacking this knight, gaining space advantage. In the game, however, white played e4, e5, d pawn captures on e5, knight recaptures, knight goes to c3, bishop goes to c5, and now f4 attacking knight on e5, knight escapes on g6. And now normal development moves were played. Knight goes to f3, d6, bishop goes to c4, bishop goes to e6. Of course, if white captures, black recaptures, black is developing and white is losing tempi. So white continues with queen to e2 and black says, okay, let's trade some material. Bishop captures on c4, queen recaptures. Queen to d7, preparing to castle queenside at some point, but white is on the move and plays f5, attacking knight on g6. Of course, there are many good squares. Of course, knight can go back, but that would be very passive. And if knight goes, let's say, to e5, of course, knight recaptures, d pawn recaptures, and this bishop is for free. So black plays the only move. Knight from g goes to e7. White develops further. Bishop goes to g5. Of course, black wants to castle queenside, but the king has to protect this pawn on f7, so black gets rid of this pawn on the f7 square. f6 was played, attacking bishop. Bishop goes back to f4, and black continues with knight to c6. White castles queenside, and black does the same. Now let's see, white has space advantage, and black still has one undeveloped pieces, so white gets a slight edge. g4 was played, reinforcing this pawn on f5, and here black responds with g5, trying to open position a little bit. Of course, white cannot capture en passant, because then black queen would recapture pawn on g4, double attack on bishop at knight. Of course, both cannot be successfully defended, so white could only stay with the g7, attacking the rook, and of course now black would have to capture, but now black is a pawn up and is better. So in the game, white retreats the bishop to g3, and now black plays h5, trying to undermine this pawn chain here on the king side. White defends with h3. Of course, black would have capture and white would recapture, and rooks would be traded. Nothing tragic, but here black plays a very interesting move. Queen goes to h7. Now let's see. If white makes a random move, let's say a3, h-pawn would capture on g4. Of course, black would have to recapture because both knight and pawn are attacked. After h-pawn recapture, queen capture, rook on h1, rook recaptures, and rook recaptures. It's check. Okay, black gave up a queen, but for two rooks, and this is very, very difficult position for white. Let's say white would defend the check with knight to d1, simply rook to h3, attacking both bishop, and if bishop goes, bishop is removed, the knight is under attack, and here white loses additional piece, so this is losing. If, for example, bishop would go to e1, defending the check, then knight to e5 is very unpleasant, because if white captures, white would recapture with d pawn. Queen cannot capture bishop because after rook to e1 check, after knight to d1 it would have checkmate. So here in this position, white would have to additionally defend the bishop with queen to e2, defending the bishop, but this is very, very unpleasant, very, very difficult position for white. Okay, let's go back to our game. So in the game, white plays rook goes to h2. Now rook is protected by the bishop, and trick from before doesn't work anymore, so black wants to drive this bishop away, but before we have intermediate move, bishop goes to e3. We have check, and white removes the king to b1, and only now black plays h4, attacking this bishop, while white plays bishop goes to f2, and black says, okay, let's trade some more material. Bishop captures on f2, rook recaptures. Now let's see where we are. So lots of material has been exchanged, but black is still undeveloped. Moreover, his pieces aren't exactly coordinated. White threatens with serious attack here on the king side. So in the game, rook to d7 was played, protecting this f7 square, preparing queen to f7, trying to trade the most dangerous piece, but white is on the move and plays knight goes to the d4, double attack on this knight on c6, with only one time protected. If white captured this knight along with the pawn, opens up position and is totally winning. And maybe the best option for black here would be simply to play knight to e5, of course attacking the queen. Queen would probably go to a4. At some point, probably knight would occupy this very strong outpost here on e6, and with space advantage, white would definitely have the edge, but black position would be passive but solid, and white would need a lot of precision to convert his strategical advantage into victory. In the game, however, black has decided to capture knight on d4, trying to exchange more material, hoping to relieve the pressure in this way, but believe it or not, this was a fatal blunder. Queen captures knight on d4, attacking pawn on a6. Well, if white enters the black king, then it's more or less all over, so black has to defend this pawn on a7. One way is, let's say, king goes to b8, but then knight to b5 is very unpleasant. Again, double attack on this pawn on a7. b6 wouldn't help exactly. After queen to a4, again double attack on this pawn on a7. Probably after a5, white would play knight to d4, threatening with knight to c6. We checked, and then threatening to enter the black king. And this would be very, very bad position for black, if not totally losing at this level. So in the game, black has decided to defend this pawn on a7 with b6. And now white continues with knight to d5. We have double attack on this pawn on f6. So black defends with queen to f7, and now white plays queen to a4, again attacking this pawn on a7. Of course, black cannot lose it, so king goes to b7 defending. And now white continues the attack with a very simple move. Rook goes to f3, of course threatening rook to a3, reinforcing queen on a4, double attack on this pawn on a7, and black responds with knight goes to h6, preparing rook to a8, protecting this pawn on a7. Of course, white could have continued with rook to a3, again putting a lot of pressure here on a7 square. It would be a totally good option, but white saw the things a little differently. Knight to b4 was played, so white threatens with the mate in 3. Let's say black makes a random move, rook to g8, let's say we have queen to c6 check. The only move is king to b8, after knight to a6, king to c8, after queen to a7. It's checkmate. So in the game, black plays a5, and now white, of course, continues with the attack. Queen to c6 was played, check. King cannot go to c8, as stated before. Queen to a8, it would be checkmate. So there we have the two options, either king to b8 or king to a7. Let's see. If king would go to a7, then rook to a3 is the killer move, because white threatens to capture this pawn, and black could only avert the mate with the queen to c4, but only for a couple of moves. Let's say after a random move, let's say rook to g8. Rook captures on a5, b pawn recaptures, queen to a6 check, king to b8, and knight to c6 is checkmate. So in the game, black plays king to b8, and white continues the attack with knight to a6 check. Again, king cannot go to c8, as queen to a8 would be checkmate. So king goes to a7, and now white plays the last killer move. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds, maybe you can find it. White finished the black with knight to c5. So b7 square is protected. White threatens with queen to b7 with checkmate, and of course if black defends with rook to b8, simply knight captures this rook on d7 with a decisive material advantage. And if, for example, black captures knight with b pawn, then we have rook to a3. White is going to capture this pawn, and is going to be checkmate in two moves. There is nothing, like literally nothing black can do about it. After let's say random move, rook captures, king goes to b8, and rook to a8 would be checkmate. If, however, D pawn captures knight on c5. Of course, this rook is double attack, so rook captures on d7. Of course, now queen could only capture because if, for example, queen goes to e8, we have mate in a couple of moves. Queen goes to f7, if king to a8, queen to b7 checkmate. If king to a6, we have queen to b7 check, king to b5, rook to b3 check. If king to c4, queen to d5 checkmate. If, however, king to a4, queen to c6, b5, and queen to b5 is checkmate. But anyway, in the game, Black realized that there's no point in playing on and resigned the game. So I hope you like this game. I hope you have learned something from it. If you have any questions, my email is below in the description. Of course, I invite you to visit my Instagram page. That's it for now, and see you soon.